Ceylon and Bob Hood. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Welcome back to Nottingham Lace. Ceylon and Bob are here just to kind of keep us informed of some of the kind of more murkier moves by our local authorities and some of the kind of principles you can fight against and some of the ways and means to negotiate your everyday life. To my understanding, there's many out there that we're not know. There's lots of hidden knowledge, and Bob and Ceylon are here just to share the joy. Welcome again, gentlemen.
That's good, but last time we saw you was a while back, but if you remember, we said we were going to actually try and test and use some of these. Well, I said I was, and that's what we've been up to. And just give you a little rundown of what is right and wrong. But I'm only going to be talking about the little bit I was explaining before about how not to give acquiescence when someone's demanding money. And I'm just dealing with a little parking issue, which is interesting enough. But Mr. Ceylon here is taking that not so much a step further. The education of anybody who thinks they have authority over another person has been very successful at this moment because, well, there was a few people being thrown out of their houses, yes, according to the law. But when the law and people within that administrative system turned up, a lot of the facts they have are incorrect, and they use that to intimidate and scare people. When you have one educated person, that's a problem. But I believe there was a problem with... How many evictions have you just stopped since the beginning of March?
Well, not to the beginning. Starting on Monday the 4th of March up until that following Friday, so 5 days, we stopped 7 evictions in them 5 days.
My God.
Well, hang on a minute. What do you mean you just stopped it? Did you turn up en masse and threaten the police?
No, perfectly peaceful. Just explaining that the banking system's corrupt. They've caused this problem, and the bailiffs that turned up the first time on the Monday, they went away without any problems at all. On the Tuesday, however, they turned up mob-handed with the police, the tin-up guys, the police. Oh yeah, the police.
Well, good. Were they there to help and protect you from them?
Well, we did make sure they were on their oaths, and although they did attempt to threaten us with arrest, the statute they were actually using only applied to squatters, and we weren't squatters.
Why, may I ask? Because you're not, by arriving at someone's house, is that an illegal act that police need to be involved in?
No, what generally happens is the bailiffs turn up with the police, and the police generally assist the bailiffs to gain entry.
Which is insane. So it's the kind of corporate... Sorry, it's the kind of financial arm of the bailiff. Why would the police... Because they're not doing... The bailiffs aren't doing anything illegal, you're not doing anything illegal.
Well, they're all corporations and companies, and it's about money. The whole game is remove your money. The guys are doing it, they're earning an income, and they're doing a job. But the limited amount of knowledge, if they really knew the law as they were trying to enforce it, this is right down to the police or the bailiff, there isn't. No. There isn't a law. It's trickery.
It's just interesting, that's all, because there's so many... The police are talking about budget cuts and less bobbies on the beat and how it's kind of going to strive our local communities of law enforcement. Yet, if you're a bailiff company, can you just call up the police and go, "Here, what? Boys in blue, I need a bit of help. We're a private entity, but we're looking to reclaim finances and money from a private citizen. We need your support."
Well, the problem is that you actually think the police force is there to protect the public.
Yes, I do. Mad that, isn't it?
Unfortunately, Grantham Police Force is now owned by G4S.
Okay.
Devon and Cornwall Police Force is owned by IBM.
Hang on a minute, are those profit-making companies?
Oh, yes.
Profit-making companies?
Oh, definitely private profit-making corporations.
Well, the police actually have to make a profit?
Yes.
So, and how would the helping bailiffs do that?
Well, for a start, they're going to regain the houses.
Okay.
The houses that somebody... Oh, well, I call them houses. They're actually homes. People live in them.
Yep.
And they get paid. The police get paid for turning up by the bailiff.
That's insane. So oh my... Sorry. Sorry, I meant to be impartial here.
Can you actually employ police officers then?
Yes.
So that's like... So I can employ the police as a private security firm, essentially.
Yeah, just think of it like when Forest play at home. They have to play the police to come and patrol around there. It's exactly the same thing. We even got the price for a bobby. It's £50 an hour plus VAT.
No way.
And the further up the scale to sergeants and whatnot, the price increases.
I'm gonna get me one. I'm gonna hire me a policeman. Are you serious?
Yes.
That's. Wow. Sorry, there's my phone going. Sorry about the radio waves.
Well, you see, one of the things is if you not explain that you have choices and things, you are corralled into it. But using the law with the law, as is like we've got the police, the bailiffs, everything else, they're insisting they know the rules of the game and you must play. Right, well, when they get the rules wrong and you've read them, that causes a real problem for them. So actually being on top and understanding what's going on is the first time a company writes to you is they're wanting you to do business, and they don't explain that when you do this, that and the other, you've agreed to everything.
By the very virtue of just responding, for example.
Yeah, yes. So the mortgage and bits and pieces, that's on that big scale now. There's loads of large holes which really have turned out to look very, very criminal. I think Ceylon was explaining about what money is, basically.
Before we go there, I'd just like to... These individuals, these human beings, being evicted from their homes...
Yes.
For what reason?
In this particular case, because of the financial system, the way it's gone, the guy had gone bankrupt, so LPA receivers are claiming they own the property. They can't own the property, though, until they've actually taken possession of it. Now, the way they normally work is you send a letter to them saying, bailiffs are coming, we're taking the property, and you leave the property. So then it's perfectly illegal for them to come in and take an empty property. But when there's humans on the actual land...
In there.
Yeah. There's certain rules and laws that must be obeyed, which basically state if they're going to try and force entry, they're not allowed to if you protest against it. You say, I don't want force entry. I don't want you getting the idea that we're all there butchering, all that type of
the
thing.
mob with pickaxes and kind of Frankenstein walking in, pouring oil over... Yeah, no, I understand that.
We just stand there. In this particular occasion, we were stood inside the fence.
Yep.
And they came up and they did all the usual... The bailiff is actually a very, very cocky guy, David Caress. We've got video. We've got video of all the 5 days. And that's going to be coming out soon. And when that comes out, you will see just how corrupt they all are. But also how, when you deal with it calmly and you explain the law, because one thing you must understand is the police don't know the law.
No.
They know how to ticket you.
Yep.
But they don't know the law. Now, on that particular day... Oh, by the way, if any of you are facing any evictions, as well as get out of debt free, the main site that we're dealing with, the evictions, is voidmortgage.com.
Voidmortgage.com.
Yes.
Okay, you could download this show by Friday, people. If you need to get these details again, they'll be on there with Ceylon and Bob Hood. Voidmortgage.com, just to repeat that.
And if you join up the site there, whenever you've got an eviction coming up, you put it in the events, and everyone can see it, and those that can make it will turn up and back you up, basically.
I bet it's a busy calendar. I bet it's a busy calendar.
Yeah, have you noticed how nobody's got any money to spend around, or extra money? It doesn't feel like that, really, does it? But really, if there's no money going round in circles, everything's going to stop, and then the people that win are the ones that say they are in control and they own the actual goods. But of course the money's made up, so let's see what we can do when we keep our real stuff.
Well, I just like the idea that, so I don't like the idea, but the idea is kind of blatantly in your face when they talk about a recession, a depression, yet there's people like Hermes and Louis Vuitton and Cristal Champagne making record profits.
Yeah.
You know, internationally. So there isn't one, essentially.
Everyone knows the banks have caused this problem by their greed and gambling and selling mortgages. They knew that those guys who were selling them to could never repay them.
Not a chance in hell.
And so... they're the ones that really are responsible for this, and they're the ones that need to pay for it. Now, there's also a friend of ours called the Spaniard. I strongly suggest you have a look at his site. His YouTube site is White Rabbit Trust, or if you just look up the Spaniard on YouTube. He on the 12th of April, he's taking Reston solicitors to court, HSBC to court, and Marlene 3, which is a debt collector, to court. And he can prove they've all committed fraud, and they're up for a time.
I think they're running scared a bit, aren't they?
And I bet you're not going to see a thing on it anywhere in popular media, apart from here.
We will have our own footage, and it will be put out.
I can't imagine the BBC are going to be picking up in a hurry.
No, definitely.
So the bailiff gentleman turned up, the police turned up, you were there behind a fence, peacefully stating your claim of which you were certain.
Yes.
Essentially, you were saying, right, we don't want you to do this, we are now actively protesting this move.
We are peaceably stopping you from breaking the law. And once we pointed out to the police, when they came up originally, they quoted such and such act and such and said that that's why we're going to start arresting you. They really did try to intimidate us, but because we all knew that the act they were actually referring to only referred to squatters, we simply pointed that out, and that gave them that meant they couldn't do anything lawfully. They would have to break the law that they're there to apparently uphold.
So they weren't squatters. These were people who had paid off or paying their mortgage, couldn't do. They still had the deeds, I assume. They said the legal documents to state this is or was, in their eyes or my eyes, their home. So they weren't squatting at all.
No, they just simply ran out of money because the banks have charged them 3 times the amount that the property cost by tricking them into giving them 3 times the amount the property costs. So
understood.
Yeah.
The results were then these people still have their home, or they're still in there.
All 7 possession that we stopped, they're all still in the homes.
Wonderful.
They've now got to go and apply for another warrant if they want to try and kick them out again.
Okay.
And if they do, we'll just go there again and we'll stop them again.
Because they were essentially going to ride roughshod over these individuals.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of assuming a lack of knowledge and a lack of information was that was their weapon.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's why you guys are here to share that knowledge.
Yeah.
yeah, well, you can see how important it is literally on that scale, because everybody, there's been a downturn in what we can spend. That means there's a downturn in the money going round in circles. So, I mean, on the mortgage front and everything else in there is a big fraud that is actually very easy to see if you're bothered to look. It's then how you want to deal with it. It belittles the little bits, because, I'm still playing with, I've got a parking ticket, but the same system works, is when people ask you to do things, and they're companies, you've got to say, are they serving you, or do they want you to serve them? But it is company to company.
One other thing that we've come across is, as well as a warrant to take back this property, but we refer to them as a home because it is a home.
Yeah, it's bricks and mortar is a home. Yep.
When the videos come out, you'll see this on it, because the bailiff, he was asked for EX96, which is a form that has to be filled in and signed, and you have to be able to understand whose signature is. He didn't have one. When we questioned the warrant, he showed us the warrant, and I got my camera around and got a good video picture of it. Yes, it's got a court stamp on. Yep. We asked where it was signed. He says, we'll get it signed after we've taken the premises. So basically, that warrant wasn't lawful.
No, so he was wanting to commit fraud, essentially, by that very virtue, and in full knowledge that he hadn't been signed appropriately.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
If you can get away with it, come on.
Well, people will. People are in agreement with the lack of knowledge. You're listening to Nottingham Lace. This is Jason Loftus. I am with Ceylon. I am with Bob Hood. We're talking essentially about a quiet, peaceful revolution here, people, and it's just about being informed, having the knowledge, being able to protect yourself, because out there it's choppy waters in ways we don't know entirely how. We're going to be back after this track from Ryan Thomas called Hangover Blues. We're going to talk about penalty charge. We're going to talk about how you can kind of fight for your rights in very, very small and meaningful ways, but it's just turning the tide for your favour. Small, meaningful ways have massive impacts and massive effects. If you like what you hear, by the way, from Ryan Thomas, you can see him tomorrow. If you like the sound of that 19-year-old blues Delta genius, you can see him this Sunday for free. Yes, people, for free at the Golden Fleece, starting from 8:30 with Johnny and the Slim Tones, or Johnny Slim and the Slim Tones, and Daniel Ison. You're listening to Nottingham Lace. I am Jason Loftus. I am with Bob Hood and Ceylon, who are here just to talk about the state of play that's under our noses.
Yeah, some people aren't that clever with their tickets, though, are they?
No. We were talking in the break about parking tickets. It's a lot of ways that people can enter into kind of contract negotiations, which I've fallen foul of already.
Well, Nottingham Council will actually admit, should we say not on the record, that it's just a game. They need to raise more money, so they've made a game, and when you're in default of the parking scheme, they'll use the Road Traffic Act, which means if you don't play, we can take your car, to enforce a taxation in a game. But I'll give you a couple examples, and this is for common sense. You can go to arbitration with these companies if you get a ticket and things, but I know someone who's just done that. Have a listen to why, they received a ticket.
Okay, this is actually for me and my 80-year-old father.
Yes, well, he's got to learn as well then, hasn't he?
Yeah, obviously, at 80 years old. He parked outside his own home. Unfortunately, his residence permit was not in his car, which he has, and what happened, his battery failed. So he got his battery, went off to buy a new battery, and came back. In the meantime, he was given a ticket. He couldn't move his car because there was no battery. Basically, and it's outside his house, and what they're saying is he's fallen foul of the notifications.
Well, he had the authority, he had the actual right to park there, he just hadn't displayed his badge.
Yes.
And the car wasn't working because he took the battery out.
Yes.
Oh, well, surely then. What did he do, appeal?
Unfortunately, that's what I did. I thought I went through the motions. Not 'cause Bob was on my mind at the time. I thought, right, should I contact Bob? I thought, let's just get it done. So I started getting worried about, my old family member and prying on the vulnerable.
About the money. I mean, there's
and my dad, and my dad getting into more because he can't afford it. So I know inevitably I'll have to pay for it. But
just think of it like this, right?
Yeah.
If everything was legit, why would they offer you a 50% discount if you paid within 14 days? And if you don't pay by that time, it goes up to the full amount. And if you still don't pay, then they add another 50% on.
because unless you say no, you've agreed to it.
Yes, so therefore it's almost like it's like Woolworths, 50% off. Is you get a discount for prompt payment.
But, your dad didn't think he should have this, and he was saying no. But how did you go about saying no to a company? What did they say back to you when you told them of this situation? Did they say, obviously there's a problem there, you don't have to pay? I'm sure that's what's happened, isn't it?
No, what happened was they said, right, wait 2 weeks, Mr. Loftus, and we will get back to you in it was a system-generated email with no kind of personal kind of opinion about it.
You applicated, so you agreed to abide by their decision.
Unfortunately, I've obviously entered into a discussion with them then, haven't I?
You gave up all your rights, so you can't argue about it.
So I gave up all my rights by saying I want to appeal, because I've entered into the game, essentially.
Yeah, basically, a man's comes up, he says, you owe me 50 quid. He says, no, I don't. He says, well, ask my mate next to me, do you owe me 50 quid? He says, no, you owe me 250. You now owe 250. Who the hell were they? They've said you've parked there? Obviously you've parked there. But what they're saying is, you have a contract that says, whatever you do, you must abide by our rules. That's the Road Traffic Act they're going. But of course now it's to do with not driving a car, it's stopping a car. So the councils, to raise money, have perverted the law, the same law that protects you from people speeding down the motorway at 100 miles an hour, not stopping round. Well, in fact, this is all contract law. So if we're exposing the fact that you can cancel tickets, then it has repercussions up the line. So they're going to stomp on anybody just for a ticket. But a reason why you don't get a ticket is it wasn't my fault. You haven't tried to abuse anybody.
No.
But what did they say then?
Basically, they were stating they've noted my comments. Basically, the car was observed at this time in this location, and essentially there was no unloading or offloading. So I wasn't legitimately, or my dad wasn't legitimately doing anything within a kind of functional reason that might accept as an appeal. And my comments. Oh well. There's the news. I was meant to keep an eye on that. What we're going to do is break for the news and then come back to you with Ceylon and Bob Hood. That's the whole point of our guests in today, Ceylon and Bob Hood. We're just talking about how to stick together and how to stick together in the eyes of sometimes unfair and quite choppy waters. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Hi, can you remember what we were up to with your I'm a good boy, I'll do what the law says?
Yes, I entered into a contractual agreement with a local authority because I believed an appeal was the way to challenge an unfair essentially document placed on my dad's car.
Well, what are they going to do there? They're going to say, well, you can go to the adjudicator and we can have an appeal. The only problem is the adjudicator you actually go to, although they claim to be independent, they're actually funded by 60 pence from every parking ticket. Now that, to me, is a conflict of interest.
Yes, because I suppose it was like Tony Blair being made the peace envoy to the Middle East after he's just got in there and violated the whole, obviously, right. Okay.
Well, what you did by applicating, now the other way of handling it, because it's not just on that. Anybody looking at that would go like, an old guy there, the car's broken down to outside his own house, he has you go like, you wouldn't have to pay. But this is about us getting as much money to cause as much misery as possible. I've got a lovely case, but didn't do it your way. Disabled person, parked in the city centre, they allow 3 hours parking in one particular area. The fact that they've removed any parking for longer than that from the area so nobody can stop any longer than that is a bit of a problem. This disabled person wasn't having a happier day, and he couldn't make it back to the car in time to move it, because you have to actually leave the city if you're disabled and park there. You're not allowed to return for an hour.
Nice.
So it was explained very briefly in a polite letter to the council that, very sorry, but if this person had tried to get there, which they did, or tried any harder, they would have called themselves physical harm. So, in which case, but this wasn't applicating to see if I get the ticket squashed. Basically, written across the ticket is refused for cause. Service rejected. Yeah. You just don't want it. Big red letters right across it, because no way could they enforce a contract on anybody that would cause harm.
So, therefore, what you did, and what I should have done, on behalf of my father, does that have any variation? I'm acting on behalf of someone.
The council the council will always say nice things.
Yes.
Yeah, and they will actually say very clearly in this, that they will actually deal with one letter first anyway. So refer to your recent letter about policy and charges and things like that. But they always deal with one letter first. So it's worth putting it in. But remember, do they know contract law? Do you know contract law? They're issuing a contract, cancel it first.
Right.
And at the same time, they wrote back to me the same thing. I said, well, actually, no, you're still going to have to pay. Now, that's interesting. What do you think? Disabled Bay, it's 3 hours. Somebody wasn't able to get back to it because they were in pain, or they would be in pain if they did it. They go like, no, we can enforce that you give us the money or you get into pain. Now, which company could actually bring an order that would physically hurt anybody, lawfully and legally? They're trying to get, as I think I've explained this before, when we use the Mr. name, it's a company. So they're attacking this company, trying to get the company to then take the money off the human being. Well, as I pointed out, that company would be breaking the law, the name of the person, if they were to cause harm. So, of course, it should go away. No, they still want their pound of flesh. But by you doing application, you've given up all your rights. My first letter explained what the situation was, and they replied pretty much the same, without me going into, please let me off, that they're still going to do me. Right, well, the next letter was explaining to the person who had actually signed the letter back that I was holding for personal liabilities if they believed that they could physically hurt somebody using the law. Yeah, but I'm not letting you waste my time. I didn't give up my rights by applicating, so I still have them all.
Yes.
And if you wish me to deal with this situation, because I can deal for any person who asks, no matter what their name is, then I will do so. But these are my charges. And also, because they're being very cheeky, and they don't really understand what they're doing, told by their bosses they can, get them to read the acts and policies. You read them too. And you will find in most circumstances, not loopholes and things, it's things you didn't realise. Like the poor man who wrote to me, which was Peter Mitchell, he doesn't write to me anymore.
I bet.
No, he's scared off. I hope he's scared off anyway, because the next bill is actually putting him back on target, because I'm charging him £150 for each question I answer, and £500 for the first letter. And my next one will also be pointing out, now that you've read and understand the actual act, every act has a definition of words. Right, so I asked them to go and read what the definition of the name or person is. Right, you should do it yourself as well, but you'll find it's not what you think. It's not a human being. It says very clearly in the Act, this is not a human being. It's a corporation or company. Yeah, that's what it is. So for me to act for that company, which I can act for anybody's company, just give me a call and I'll see what you want me to do. I charge. And I charge the companies who are coming against that company. So I'm going to ask them now, I'm going to accept, I'm going to say, look, I'm really sorry, you might be right, you might have the lawful right to actually make people run for the train before it goes to the gas station. Or is it gas chamber? You might have the right, but I don't believe you do. So, while we're doing these are my charges. Now, you gave up yours by applicating.
By acknowledging them as a potent body, by appealing.
Try billing them for the work you've done, because I'm doing that, but nicely I'm going to accept their charge, and I want that money to be removed to one side and placed in an account in case they are right. So I haven't robbed anybody. We'll put it into a special reserve account, but I want them to deduct it from the money they owe me. So my bill's around 900, and they can't make up their minds whether they're charging me 35. Oh no, they're charging me 70, and I think in 14 days' time it goes up to 105. Well, I'm actually going to be putting aside 3 times that amount. So, you know, instead of them paying I think the bill's around £900 for my work so far, and I sent them a note of my charges, and as I say, nobody else wants to write back to me. John Collins, who's the head of the council, he's a nice guy. He's been off doing some cycling, raising money for charity.
He is, yes.
But he has actually acknowledged me in the correct way, and that means they've accepted my charges. So right now, that money can take out the £900 they owe me, send me a cheque for 600, and I'll see you in court. We'll see what happens on the next bit. But you can't do anything, because you said, I'll give up all of my rights. I said, how dare you do that? I have these rights. And that's the knowledge, is knowing if you have right to do things and what contract law is. So if they wanted to go to court, as I say, Ceylon told people, lots of people, how to cancel this, then they ignore it. Could you turn up with a court with a contract that clearly says across it, cancelled?
No.
Right. So you've got to actually start looking at how these contract laws work. But when somebody writes to you as a company, deal with them as a company. But individuals who are actually dealing, and the company policy says if it's wrong, just say, no problem at all, I accept that, but you must take full personal, unlimited liabilities for this. Yeah, and you must show that you understand what you're doing, because I'm going to be charging you personally, not the council, you personally, the money.
Excuse Sammy the dog in the background here, if you can pick him up. This is Bob Hood and Ceylon with Jason Loftus on Nottingham Lace. Obviously, it's a lot of information to take in, and you can download the show next Friday to get this in, or you can go to debtfree.org, or obviously that is the main site. Will give you some help, or at least put in the right contact or the right situation with Bob and Ceylon themselves. Let's getoutoftdebtfree.org, and that will point you in the right direction. Obviously, my lesson learned here is play your own game, don't play theirs.
What can he do now? Now he's applicated. Can he withdraw what he's actually said in there?
Yeah. It's this is slightly off topic to what you were doing, but it gives you an idea of how contract law works. If I've got a mate in the West Midlands who worked all his life and had to go down last year and sign on for it's still called sign on, yeah?
Yes, I think so.
He had to go down and sign on for the first time in his life, but he was aware of contract law, and so he went down and he filled the paperwork out, and anything he didn't like in that paperwork, he crossed it out and initialed it, and anything he wanted to add to it, he added to it. So he actually added to the contract, because every time you go and sign anything, it is a contract of some type.
But you wouldn't have to sign it otherwise, technically, would you?
And so what he put into it, yes, I'll come in once a fortnight, and all I need to verbally say is I've asked my friends and family, and if there's at work, then I'll tell so. If not, then I'll say no. And so he doesn't actually have to sign on. He just has to turn up and verbally say he's tried it and that. And when the guy put that into the computer, he was shocked because it just accepted it.
Okay.
Because it is a contract, and contracts work both ways. If you don't like a contract, you change it to suit you.
So what I can do, technically, is change that to suit me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. We shall talk more about this, Ceylon, because I want to get it, obviously, off air, just because, and I want to share the information on air, post that, because I want to kind of sit down, because properly and focus it, because what I felt was like, oh, I better get this sorted. I had that initial fear, which I think a lot of people feel, that if I right, okay, oh no, they're after me, or they're going to take my dad, he's 80 years old, you know, all that kind of stuff. And now I feel like I was thinking on the other side of my left hemisphere was going, talk to Bob.
Yes.
Talk to Bob. He'll have a go. Talk to Bob.
Well, I think you're talking to Ceylon, but he knows what he's talking about too.
Well, that is the key thing. They rely on fear.
Yeah, and they do.
And coercion, because remember, you apparently you've committed a crime against no one in particular.
A financial crime, obviously, that costs me money.
But because you're such a good little slave, we'll give you 50% off if you pay now within 14 days.
That's insane. That's like a sale at Woolies.
Yeah, something else I saw literally today was looking through a young man's paperwork, and he's got a bill from Broxtowe Council, and this is from bailiffs, not the council. He's told them, go away, I'm dealing with the council. But the bailiffs have also added their bit in, because they all work as a team. They're going to come and get some money, and they're demanding lots from him. But in the letter, it very clearly explains that if it looks like, you know, you just don't want to pay, like at the moment, it's going to look like you just don't want to pay, you could face, or will face, 90 days in prison. How do you feel about your dad ran out of money to pay his council tax, or can't pay for the extra empty rooms, which we will show you is the biggest lie and con, because the whole point is, if you believe one thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, slowly everything's gone. But this is completely unenforceable, the laws they do with this rooms and everything else. But if you do run out of money, you're out your house.
Insane, but very real, people. Gentlemen, I'm going to have to bring it to a close, because I feel we could spend at least 3 hours talking about this and some, and we've only got 3 hours on the show. You listen to Nottingham Lace. That was, gentlemen, please, thank you very much for your time today. Ceylon, Bob Hood, telling us in a short and a very small snippet of time how to right certain wrongs. But if you need more information about what the gentlemen are talking about, get out of debt free. All one word, all lowercase, .org. Get out of debt free.org. And obviously you can download this show by next Friday at www.TrentSound.com to hear again these details from Bob Hood and Ceylon.
And keep an eye on what happens with Dad's parking ticket.
Yeah, I'll keep you informed.
Yeah, and if you're interested, it is actually quite dull, but actually understanding what we're doing with the paperwork on the parking ticket, YouTube, Dr. Ceylon and Bob Hood, we're up there. It's a little bit on the, but it's funny enough to realise what is happening. So each stage we'll stick out a little video and show you what the results of the next lot of correspondence are.
Beautiful. Ceylon, thank you, mate.
Thank you.
I'll see you again very soon. Keep me informed of what's going on. And again, you've always got an open door here at Nottingham Lace. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Take